from the Welsh Conservative Conference in Llangollen. Well, this week, the UK government announced plans to close London offices and relocate thousands of civil service jobs to cities across the UK, including Cardiff. Although when he spoke to Radio Wales Breakfast this week, the Cabinet Office Minister, Pat McFadden, couldn't or wouldn't say what numbers would be leaving the English capital for the Welsh one. He did say, though, that he wanted decision-maker closer to communities all across the UK, and that he wanted to embrace new technology, allowing meetings to take place online. Yes, it's Teams. But this was not mean civil servants would be remote working all the time. Well, we can hear now from Dr David McCollum from the University of St Andrews, released a new report examining if the working from home phenomenon, which became so prevalent in the COVID pandemic, has spread skills and talent more evenly around the UK. Good morning.
Good morning from a very sunny Fife in Scotland.
I suppose the first question has to be, has it spread skills and talent more evenly around the UK?
Sorry to depress your listeners on a Sunday morning. The short answer to that is unfortunately not. The main reason for that is that most people do not work on a fully remote basis, which means that on a weekly basis they're commuting to their place of work, and of course the best jobs, the best paid jobs with the best opportunities for progression tend to be in the places they've always been, which means basically London and the South East. So no mass relocation of workers elsewhere, unfortunately.
Have they sort of drifted a little bit further out, though? Because I can imagine that, if you say you were London-based and you only have to go in 2 days a week, you might say, I could probably live in Brighton, or I could probably live a bit further out than I live at the moment.
Yes, indeed, there is some evidence for that. So in the literature, that's referred to as donut effects, whereby people are relocating away from inner city areas to places where they can get a spare room to work in, and they're commuting to work on a less frequent basis. So they're more tolerant of longer commutes for that reason. So some people, moving further away from the inside of cities, but not necessarily to rural areas in larger numbers.
Presumably, though, if you actually moved the office, then people would move, wouldn't they? If the office is moved, I don't know, from London to sunny Fife, then people would move, wouldn't they? And working from home would mean they'd be commuting, I don't know, from Glasgow or wherever.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I guess it's maybe a chicken or egg type scenario whereby firms are perhaps reluctant to move to places like sunny Fife because of concerns about being able to recruit and retain the staff that they need. And I guess in the same respect, workers are reluctant to move away in the sense that they might struggle to find proper employment opportunities. So I guess it's a case of which one comes first. I guess in the moment we might talk about public sector relocations. This is a nice example, perhaps, of where the government can take the lead in relocating away from those core cities to help rejuvenate regional economies.
And this isn't a new thing, is it? I mean, I was just thinking about this subject. It's difficult to imagine Swansea without the DVLA. And that was moved there in the 1960s, and it's found the people it needed to do the work locally, and it's just part of the ecology and the economy of the city.
Indeed, yes. And in the press this week, there's a lot of noise being made about the relocation of these jobs away from London. But I think it's often forgotten that for a very long time, as you just said, civil service jobs have been outside of London. Most jobs in the civil service already are outside of London. I guess the challenge is that the most senior civil service roles remain located in London. So the government has a pledge to get at least half of its senior civil servants outside of London within the next 5 years, which I guess is more of a challenge than civil service jobs per se, which already are quite well scattered across the country.
I mean, I'm just thinking from my own experience, the BBC, which used to be very, very London-centric and has developed the big news centre in Salford. And a lot of people didn't like that, refused to go. They had kids in school in London or whatever, so they didn't go. But the BBC has found no real difficulty in recruiting people in the north of England who are good broadcasters, good producers, good picture editors. Sometimes you just have to take the plunge.
Yes, and as I said, I think a second ago, I think the the relocation of senior civil service jobs away from London is a case where the government can demonstrate that this is something feasible. So if they lead the way, then hopefully there's a good chance that the private sector would follow as well in due course.
David McCollum, thank you very much indeed. Well, when I started in this game, too many decades ago to mention, Fleet Street had